Attorney General Barr was basically on the team.
To which you tweeted, Glenn, Parnas just accused Bill Barr of criminal complicity in the Zelensky bribery, yet Barr is still overseeing the SDNY prosecution of Parnas. That can't continue. The conflict of interest is staggering. The DOJ's credibility and legitimacy is on life support. This travesty must end. Is there any way for Barr to be forced out of the chain of command in this prosecution?
Well, Barr's superior is President Trump. Do we think President Trump is going to force Bill Barr to step away from whatever he's doing in connection with the Parnas-Fruman investigation? Heck no. And here is the problem. I mean, usually when prosecutors meet with potential cooperating witnesses, right, the Lev Parnases of the world, we're assessing their information to see if it's truthful and if it's helpful to our prosecution. I'm quite sure SDNY prosecutors have sat down with Lev Parnas and gotten all this information. Some of the information we now know they must have gotten was what Lev Parnas told Rachel. Bill Barr is in on the dirty Ukrainian deal. Now, if they sign him up as a cooperating witness and they use that evidence, who do they end up bringing down? Bill Barr.
Right.
Who's overseeing the Lev Parnas prosecution? Bill Barr, who oversees everything that goes on in the Southern District of New York U.S. Attorney's Office and the 93 other U.S. Attorney's offices in the country. Bill Barr needs to have his DOJ hall pass revoked because of this dramatic conflict. And one other thing about the Bill Barr piece, Joy, the way we assess if a cooperating witness is telling us the truth or just throwing lies in the mix to try to dirty people up for his own benefit is we look to see what other people have said about the same thing. Who corroborates, supports, and affirms Lev Parnas' claim that Bill Barr is in on the dirty Ukrainian deal? How about President Trump in his phone call to Zelensky, who says, I need you to look in the Bidens, and you know who's going to help you out? My man, Bill Barr, the Attorney General. Lev Parnas and Donald Trump corroborate, confirm, and support one another, and they make it clear, Joy, that Bill Barr is in the dirty Ukrainian deal loop, like everybody else is in the loop. Who dislodges Bill Barr other than the American people come November of 2020? There's no good answer to that question.
See, and I'm glad that you brought that up, because in the Trump's claimed perfect phone call, he says, talk to Rudy and talk to Bill Barr. And Bill Barr, we know, has mounted and has instructed one of his underlings at DOJ to mount this, investigation supposedly on his own that seems to track with what Trump wanted done. And meanwhile, you're right, there is no way to dislodge him. We don't have an independent counsel statute anymore. Normally, this sounds like a job for a special prosecutor, but you can't have a Mueller, because Mueller would report, a Mueller-type prosecutor would report to Bill Barr, because the former sort of Ken Starr-type special prosecutor, independent counsel, that law, it's gone. It expired.
Yeah. And I think what the founders envisioned is potentially a corrupt and criminal president. So we have impeachment. Potentially a corrupt and criminal attorney general. There would be ways to deal with that if we had a law-abiding president.
Right.
I don't think they ever envisioned a corrupt, criminal, abusive president supported by a corrupt, criminal, and abusive attorney general. And that's why, come January 2020, we need to wrestle this thing to the ground. We need to form a commission that is equal parts Nuremberg trials and Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and we need to hold all of these people accountable. I think Trump Crimes Commission has a nice ring to it. That needs to be done because these corrupt men have exposed the flaws in our system.
Indeed. And, a previous attorney general has gone to jail. I think he should keep that in mind, William Barr. Here is another part of this interview in which Lev Parnas talks about being afraid of William Barr. Take a listen.
And right now, the scary part, and that's what I keep mentioning and people don't understand, is there's a lot of Republicans that would go against him. The only reason if you take a look, and you know very well because you've been following, the difference between why Trump is so powerful now, and he wasn't as powerful in 16 and 17. He became that powerful when he got William Barr.
Yeah.
People are scared. Am I scared? Yes. Because I think I'm more scared of our own Justice Department than of these criminals right now.
And we should know that the DOJ put out a statement saying this is 100% false. That's their statement. He has good reason to be afraid. Right? I mean, this guy, William Barr, has his fingers on so much of this. He controls the prosecutors that are prosecuting Parnas. He controls even, I mean, you look at the Jeffrey Epstein case, he controlled the prison. He controls so much, and he has so much power, and Trump has empowered him so much. And he's dealing with various Russian entities that we don't know that are murky. This guy actually he has good reason to be afraid, no?
He does, because here is the catch-22 for Lev Parnas. If he is actively involved in discussions with the prosecutors in New York to see whether he wants to come on board as a formal cooperator, all of those are secret, and they're going to remain secret for a very long time. So he wouldn't have been able to tell his story publicly. So I think that must be part of the motivation as to why he went to Rachel and is now getting his story out. Because, think about it, if he had been dealing with the Southern District of New York prosecutors behind closed doors,
right,
giving up Bill Barr, Trump, and others, and all of a sudden something happened to him like happened to Epstein, well, all of that information would then be put under wraps by Bill Barr the same way we really haven't gotten to the bottom of what happened to Epstein. And so I think this was a smart move, and maybe for his own personal safety, this was Lev Parnas's only play to get the information out to the American people so he doesn't get Epsteined.
Well, and the reality is that there's no guarantee he will get to testify in the Senate trial. Barr, it seems slow. Maybe we don't know what his role was and how slow it was to get all this information. He's had this the whole time. He had Donald Trump's lawyers, right? He had John Dowd, and he said to Rachel, he fired Dowd because they were telling him to keep quiet. There seemed to be a lot of people trying to slow down or stop him from talking.
Bingo. And, you know, there's this recent letter that actually Chairman Nadler sent to Adam Schiff when he was delivering over the Lev Parnas materials. And this letter is January 14th of 2020, just a few days ago. And here's what we learned about just how intimately Donald Trump knows Lev Parnas, because we've seen on an endless loop, Donald Trump, don't know him, maybe a picture, never met him, don't even know. Okay, let's see what this letter tells everybody is the truth about the relationship between Donald Trump and Lev Parnas. And I'll read this sentence real quickly. On October 2nd, 2019, Jay Sekulow, Trump's lawyer, informed President Trump's former attorney, John Dowd, that he had discussed with President Trump the issue of representation and that President Trump consents to allowing Mr. Dowd's representation of Lev Parnas. Jay Sekulow, his lawyer, President Trump's lawyer, went on record and said, I've spoken in great detail with the president about Lev Parnas, your relationship with him, and the president consents to let one of your old lawyers, Mr. Dowd, represent him. So I got to tell you, if President Trump standing up and looking at the camera and saying, I don't know Lev Parnas, if he's being honest to himself and he thinks he doesn't know Lev Parnas, then we better talk about the 25th Amendment.
Right.
Because he's
why
unfit.
Is he letting his lawyer, he had to give his consent for his lawyer to represent this guy, but he's saying he did that for a stranger.
Joy, and Jay Sekulow is sitting on this lie that he can expose.
And he's going to represent Trump in the Senate.
Jay Sekulow is so conflicted, and lawyers are obligated by our rules of ethics not to perpetrate a fraud in court or in an impeachment or against the American people.
It's just that who is going to enforce any of these laws? Glenn Kirshner, thank you very much. Really
thank you.